The stars were quiet that night, except for a small signal drifting through the void. On Lunaris Prime, a world of blue forests and silver mountains, the air trembled with fear. The harrowed swarm had returned. No one on the planet had seen them for centuries, but their legends were terrifying. Cities burned, forests were consumed, and the people of Lunaris Prime had no one to turn to. They sent a distress call into space, hoping for help. They expected the great empires, the ones that controlled most of the galaxy, to respond. But no one answered. Deep in orbit around Earth, the listening station detected the strange signal. Ethan Brooks was there, sitting at his console, staring at the blinking screen. He had been trained to hear alien signals, but this one was different. It was weak, broken, full of static. But beneath the noise, he could feel the urgency. Someone was calling for help, and they were terrified. Ethan leaned closer to the monitor. "This is not random," he said quietly. "Someone is alive out there, and they need us." His supervisor frowned. "Ethan, it's probably just some interference. It happens all the time. We don't even know who sent it." "But it's in a pattern," Ethan insisted. "It's repeating." "That's a language. Someone wants to talk. We have to respond," the supervisors argued. Some wanted to ignore it, saying that Earth had enough problems of its own. Other empires had ignored distress calls before. But Ethan would not let it go. He stayed at his console all night, trying to decipher the broken message. Slowly, piece by piece, he understood part of it. The words were alien, strange sounds he had never heard before. But the meaning was clear. Their world was in danger. They were dying. Meanwhile, the Council on Earth was in session. In a large room with holographic screens, politicians and military leaders debated what to do. Some were afraid. They said Earth was small and unprepared to face unknown threats. Some said the message could be a trap. But Ethan spoke again, his voice steady and firm. "We cannot ignore a call for help. We are human. This is what we do. If someone is calling, we answer." After hours of argument, the council finally agreed. A small response team would be sent. It would not be a massive military force. There were too many risks, and Earth's technology was limited. But the humans would go. Ethan was selected to lead the communications team. The pilot was Laura Adams, fast and precise, with nerves of steel. The engineer was Kevin Brooks, Ethan's younger brother, a quiet man who could fix almost anything. And the medical officer was Mia Turner, kind and calm, always ready to help those in pain. Together, they boarded the starship Horizon. The Horizon was small for interstellar travel, but it was fast. Its engines could jump through space, allowing them to cover light years in a few hours. As they prepared to leave, Ethan watched the planet he had always called home. He felt fear, but also hope. He did not know what they would find. But he knew humans would do what humans always did. They would fight, they would protect, and they would not leave anyone behind. The jump through space was strange and silent. Stars stretched into lines, and the ship shook as it entered the jump field. Ethan held his hand on the console, feeling the energy hum beneath his fingers. Laura worked the controls with calm precision, guiding the ship through the void. Kevin checked the systems, making sure everything stayed functional, while Mia ran through her medical supplies and equipment. Hours later, the Horizon emerged near Lunaris Prime. The view was shocking. Smoke and fire rose from cities once full of life. The forests were scorched in patches. The planet that had sent the call for help was almost unrecognizable. Ethan felt a heavy weight in his chest. "This is worse than we thought," he said. Laura nodded. "We are not here to watch. We are here to help." Ethan sent the first message to the Lunarians using the partial language he had decoded. It was broken, and they probably could not understand it fully. But a reply came almost immediately. A strong, female voice spoke through the static. She called herself Avari. She was surprised. She had expected no one to answer. The great empires of the galaxy had ignored them. Now, Humans were here, small and unknown, risking everything for strangers. Her voice trembled with disbelief. "Why do you come?" she asked in her language. Ethan replied slowly, using the words he had learned. "We came because you called. We are here to help. You are not alone." The horizon landed near the ruins of a city. Fires still burned in some buildings, and strange shapes moved in the shadows. Ethan, Laura, Kevin, and Mia prepared to exit the ship. They wore protective suits and carried tools and weapons. The crew moved cautiously, but their presence alone seemed to bring hope. Survivors peered from shelters, hiding at first, then stepping forward when they saw humans were friendly. Avari met them outside the ruins. She was tall, with pale silver skin and eyes that shone like liquid metal. Her expression was a mixture of fear and hope. "I do not understand," she said. "Why would you come?" No one else cared. Ethan smiled gently. "Because we care. Humans always answer when someone is in danger. That is who we are." The survivors began to gather around. Mia moved among them, tending to burns and injuries. Her calm voice reassured the frightened Lunarians. Kevin examined the damaged technology, finding ways to restore basic systems. Laura stayed alert, scanning the sky for enemy ships, and Ethan spoke with Avari, trying to understand the enemy and the damage they had caused. The Harrowed Swarm was unlike anything humans had faced before. They were not just ships or soldiers. They were a living, moving force. A mindless swarm controlled by a massive hive. They destroyed everything in their path. The Lunarians had tried to fight, but they were too few, and their technology was outdated. The other empires had refused to intervene, calling the fight hopeless. But humans did not see hopeless situations. They saw a chance to act. As night fell on Lunaris Prime, the Horizon crew prepared for what was next. Fires burned in the distance, and strange cries echoed through the ruins. Ethan looked at his team. "We came for them. Now we stay. We help them survive. Then we fight." Avari watched them and felt something she had never felt before. A small hope grew inside her. Perhaps, after centuries of silence, someone truly had heard their cry. Perhaps they were not alone. The crew spent the night organizing survivors, setting up shelters, and preparing for the next wave of attacks. Ethan stayed in communication with Earth, sending reports and updates. He did not know what the future held, but he knew one thing for certain. Humans did not run from danger. Humans answered the call. By dawn, the fires were still burning, but the horizon had made a difference. Survivors had food, water, and medicine. Some had been rescued from ruins. Avari spoke again to Ethan. "You risk everything for us." "Why?" Ethan paused. "Because someone called for help. And that is enough reason for humans." The first day ended with the Horizon crew ready for battle. They had arrived as strangers, small and alone. But their courage and determination already made a difference. The Lunarians began to trust them, and the survivors began to hope. Far above, the stars were silent, but humanity's voice had reached across the void. It was the beginning of something new. A bond between two worlds, born in fire and fear, and strengthened by the courage of a few humans willing to risk everything for strangers. The distress call had reached the stars. Only Earth had answered. The fires on Lunaris Prime had not gone out. Smoke hung heavy over the ruined city, and the stench of burned metal and earth filled the air. Ethan, Laura, Kevin, and Mia stepped out of the horizon as the first rays of the alien sun touched the scorched buildings. Survivors moved cautiously, watching the humans. Some hid behind piles of rubble. Others peered from broken windows. They had lived through endless nights of terror, and trust did not come easily. Ethan scanned the area with his communicator. "We need to locate the largest groups of survivors first," he said. "We can't save everyone at once, but we can save some." Laura checked the horizon systems. "Enemy signals are faint, but there are small patrols nearby. They are searching for survivors. Kevin adjusted his toolkit. We should set up temporary shelters and med stations before they find the people. The sooner we organize, the safer everyone will be. Mia nodded, kneeling beside a group of Lunarian children. We'll start here. We'll make sure they have water and food first. The humans began their work. They moved through the ruins with care, helping survivors out of damaged buildings, giving food and water, and treating burns and injuries. Mia worked tirelessly, calming frightened children and talking to parents who had lost everything. Kevin repaired broken communication devices and small generators so that lights could come back on in some shelters. Laura patrolled the perimeter in the small hover vehicle the Horizon carried, watching for enemy movement. Hours passed, and Ethan stayed in contact with Avari. She had gathered a small group of Lunarian soldiers, but they were tired, scared, and badly outnumbered. Our weapons are weak against them, she said. The swarm will be back soon, and we cannot hold the city. Ethan thought carefully. We will not let them take this place. We are humans. We fight when others run. We fight to protect life, not power or land. If we have to, we will give our lives to keep these people alive. Avari's eyes widened. She had seen empires refuse to act, even when lives were at risk. The humans were different. They did not ask why she was calling. They did not calculate odds. They acted. As the sun climbed higher, the first wave of the harrowed swarm appeared. It was unlike anything the humans had fought before. The ships were jagged and alive. Like a moving hive, they swarmed over the city, releasing smaller attack drones that moved like insects. Fires erupted where the drones touched the ruins. Laura sprang into action. She climbed into the hover vehicle, engines humming, and began weaving through the enemy drones. She fired precise bursts, destroying several before they could reach the survivors. Kevin adjusted the Horizon's shields, preparing to deploy defensive drones from the ship. Mia helped pull survivors to safety, moving them into underground shelters where the humans had cleared rubble for temporary safety. Ethan stayed in communication with Avari, coordinating the defense. Move the survivors to the east shelter, he ordered. We'll block the west approach. Laura, slow the drones there. Avari nodded, her soldiers following the instructions quickly. She was amazed at how fast humans thought under pressure. Every move was calculated, precise, and daring. The Lunarians had never seen anything like it. The battle continued for hours. Small explosions rocked the ruined city as Laura led the hover vehicle in risky maneuvers, dodging swarming drones and taking out enemy craft. Kevin worked from the Horizon, sending out automated defense drones that targeted approaching swarm ships. Ethan monitored communications, giving orders and advice. Mia treated the injured, using alien medical techniques she had learned from observing the Lunarians. Despite the humans' efforts, the swarm was relentless. A massive drone suddenly broke through the perimeter, moving toward the east shelter where the survivors hid. Ethan shouted, "Laura, get it! Don't let it reach them." Laura pushed the hover vehicle to its limits, diving toward the drone. She fired with perfect timing, striking a weak point in its organic armor. The drone exploded, but the shockwave threw her vehicle against a building. Sparks flew, and the engine sputtered. Kevin, watching from the Horizon, quickly sent a repair drone to assist. Within minutes, Laura's vehicle was functional again, and she returned to her defensive position. Meanwhile, Ethan and Avari led a small team to help evacuate more survivors from a nearby building. Smoke filled the corridors, and the heat was intense. But the humans moved with calm determination. They carried children, helped the elderly, and pushed forward despite fear. One group of survivors hesitated, unsure if they could trust the humans. Ethan knelt beside them. "We are here to help. We will not leave you. Trust us. Come with us." Slowly, the survivors followed. Avari watched, amazed. She had never seen such courage. She had never seen anyone fight so hard for strangers. By late afternoon, the humans and Lunarians had gathered most of the survivors in a safer part of the city. Temporary shelters had been set up, small fires controlled, and basic defenses prepared. The horizon hovered above, ready to respond to any new attacks. Ethan gathered his team. "We have done well today, but this is only the beginning. The swarm will return stronger. We need a plan to stop them before they destroy the rest of the city." Laura wiped sweat from her brow. "They are organized, fast, and dangerous. We can slow them down, but we cannot stop them completely. With what we have here," Kevin added, "we might be able to repair and use some of their old technology. The Lunarians have weapons, but they are damaged. We can fix and combine them with our drones. That might give us a fighting chance." Mia nodded. "And we must protect the survivors. If we lose them, nothing else matters." Avari joined them. Her face was serious, but full of respect. "You humans are different from anyone I have ever seen. You do not wait for permission. You act. You risk yourselves for others. You fight when everyone else runs. I have never felt hope like this in centuries." Ethan smiled faintly. "We are not heroes. We are humans. We do what we must. Sometimes that is enough to change everything." The sun began to set, casting a red glow over the ruins. The Horizon crew gathered in the temporary command center they had set up, in a partially destroyed building. Ethan sent a detailed report to Earth, describing the swarm, the survivors, and the damages. The Council responded with encouragement, but they reminded him that resources were limited. Earth could send small support, but humans could not be everywhere at once. That night, the city was quiet for a few hours. Survivors slept in the shelters, exhausted from the day's chaos. Ethan and his team patrolled the perimeter, keeping watch for any signs of the swarm. Laura checked the hover vehicle and the Horizon's shields, while Kevin repaired damaged equipment. Mia moved quietly among the shelters, checking on injured Lunarians and offering words of comfort. Ethan looked at the sky, filled with stars. The silence was temporary. The swarm would return. They always did. But for now, there was peace, and the survivors could rest. That small victory was enough to give hope. In the darkness, Avari approached Ethan. "I do not know how we can repay you," she said. "You came when no one else would. You risked your lives for us. That is something the galaxy has not seen before." Ethan shook his head. "No repayment is needed. We answered a call for help. That is enough." Avari studied him, and for the first time, she believed that humans were different. They were not motivated by power or fear. They acted because it was right, and that was a strength unlike any the galaxy had ever faced. The first day on Lunaris Prime had ended. The humans had saved hundreds of lives and stopped the immediate threat of the swarm. But they knew it was only the beginning. The enemy was relentless, and their technology was strange and dangerous. Still, the Horizon crew had shown the Lunarians something they had not seen in generations. Hope. The next day would bring more challenges. The swarm would return, and the humans would have to fight again. But for the first time in centuries, the Lunarians felt that they might survive. Ethan looked at his team. "We are not done. This is only the start. We will protect them. We will fight, and we will show the galaxy that humans do not ignore a cry for help." Laura nodded. "Let them come. We are ready." Kevin smiled quietly. "We will fix whatever breaks and keep moving forward. That is what we do." Mia looked at the survivors resting in the shelters. "We will keep them alive. That is all that matters." And so, under the dim light of the alien sun, the Horizon crew prepared for the next battle. Humans had arrived when no one else would. They fought, not for glory, but for life. And in doing so, they had already begun to change the fate of Lunaris Prime. The distress call had been answered, and for the first time in generations, hope had returned. The day after the first attack, the Horizon crew gathered in the temporary command center with Avari and a few Lunarian soldiers. The city was quiet for now. But Ethan knew the peace would not last. The harrowed swarm would return, and they would be stronger. He looked at his team. Laura cleaned and checked her hover vehicle. Kevin repaired damaged drones and small energy weapons. Mia checked the medical supplies. Each of them worked in silence, preparing for what was coming. Ethan spoke to Avari. "We cannot wait for the swarm to strike again. We need to take the fight to them. Do you know where their main ship is?" Avari nodded. "It is in the asteroid belt beyond the outer moons. It hides among the rocks. No one dares go near it. It controls the smaller drones and ships. Destroy it, and the swarm will be weaker. But it is heavily protected. Every attempt before has failed." Ethan's eyes narrowed. "Then we need a plan they have not seen before. Something they do not expect." He gathered the survivors and soldiers around a holo map of the system. He traced a path through the asteroid belt, pointing out the hive ship. "We cannot attack them head-on. It would destroy us. But if we can get inside, place explosive charges along their energy vents, and detonate them at the same time, we can break their control link. It will be risky, but it is our best chance." The Lunarians looked at him in disbelief. "No one has ever survived inside the hive," one said. "Even the strongest fleets failed." Ethan nodded. "We are not fleets. We are humans. We do not run. We do not give up. And we are not alone. You will help us. Together, we can do what others cannot." Avari studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded. "We will follow your plan. It is dangerous, but it is better than waiting to die." Preparation began immediately. Laura trained Lunarian pilots in evasive maneuvers using the hover vehicles and repaired ships. They practiced flying through tight spaces, dodging obstacles, and working together with humans. Kevin worked with Lunarian engineers to build the shock charges. They modified old energy devices, combining Lunarian power cores with human technology. The goal was to create small but powerful explosions that could disrupt the hive's energy system. Mia worked tirelessly among the injured and the volunteers who wanted to fight. She taught them basic first aid, how to treat burns and cuts, and how to stay calm under pressure. She moved quietly, but her presence gave everyone confidence. Ethan spent hours studying the signals from the hive. "We need to understand their patterns," he told Avari. "If we know how they react to intruders, we can avoid detection and reach the main energy core." The Lunarians were amazed. Humans did not just fight with weapons. They fought with their minds. They observed, they planned, and they adapted. It was different from the empires they had known, which relied on overwhelming force or fear. After 2 days of preparation, the strike team was ready. The Horizon carried Ethan, Laura, Kevin, Mia, and a small group of Lunarian volunteers. They loaded the shock charges, checking each one carefully. Every device had to work perfectly. Failure meant death. Avari led a larger group to provide support, staying in the outer system to protect survivors and distract smaller swarm drones. Ethan gathered the strike team. "We cannot go back once we enter the asteroid belt. Every step counts. Stick together. Watch each other. Trust each other. That is the only way we survive." Laura started the engines, and the Horizon rose into the sky. The remaining survivors watched silently as the ship disappeared into the distance. Some whispered prayers. Others clutched the hands of those beside them. They had never seen humans act with such determination, and hope filled their hearts. The asteroid belt was dark and dangerous. Massive rocks drifted slowly, but the team had to navigate at high speed to avoid detection. The Horizon's sensors scanned constantly for swarm patrols. Small drones appeared suddenly, like shadows moving in the blackness. Laura maneuvered the ship through narrow gaps, avoiding collisions, while Kevin operated the defensive drones to destroy enemy scouts. Hours passed in tense silence. Every movement mattered. Ethan kept the team focused. "Stay alert. The hive can sense vibrations and energy changes. We cannot make mistakes." Finally, they reached the outer layers of the hive ship. It was enormous. A living fortress of rock and metal fused together. Veins of glowing energy running across its surface. The Horizon hovered just outside the entrance, and the team prepared to move inside. Laura looked at Ethan. "Ready?" Ethan nodded. "Let's go." No hesitation. They entered a narrow tunnel inside the hive. The walls pulsed with strange organic energy. Shadows moved in the corners. Strange creatures, half organic and half metallic, patrolled the corridors. The team moved silently, using the shadows for cover. Every step was careful, measured. Kevin placed the first charge along an energy vein. "Done," he whispered. The device hummed faintly, ready to explode. Ethan checked the map. "Good. Keep moving." They placed charge after charge, moving deeper into the hive. The creatures inside became more active, sensing intruders. Small tendrils lashed out, but Laura's quick reflexes and Kevin's drones destroyed them before they could attack. Mia stayed close, ready to help anyone injured. At one point, a massive guardian appeared, rising from the wall like a living tower. Its eyes glowed red, and it lashed at the team with enormous claws. Ethan shouted, "Take cover!" Laura drove the hover vehicle into the guardian, distracting it while Kevin fired energy blasts from the drones. The guardian roared, and the team ducked behind a wall. Mia moved forward quickly, helping a Lunarian soldier who had been knocked down. The guardian finally collapsed under their combined efforts, leaving a path forward. They reached the central energy core, a massive glowing chamber where the hive's control system pulsed like a heart. Ethan looked at the charges. "This is it. Place them carefully and be ready to move." Kevin attached the last charge to the main vein. The devices were all set. Ethan checked the timer. 3 minutes to exit. "Everyone clear?" Laura nodded, gripping the controls tightly. Mia had moved all injured to safety. The Lunarian volunteers were ready. Avari's signal came over the communicator. "We are waiting outside." "Hurry." Ethan triggered the sequence. The charges hummed louder, energy flowing through them. Then, they ran toward the exit. The hive reacted immediately. Walls shifted, tendrils lashed, and creatures attacked from every side. Laura weaved the hover vehicle through the tunnels, dodging falling debris. Kevin destroyed obstacles with precise energy blasts. Ethan led the team on foot through the narrow passages, keeping them together. Mia helped anyone who stumbled, keeping the group moving. Finally, they reached the horizon and blasted out of the hive. The swarm tried to follow, but the exit collapsed behind them. Laura fired the engines at maximum, pushing the ship away from the hive. Ethan triggered the charges remotely. The explosion rocked the asteroid belt. Energy pulses spread through the hive, breaking the control link of the swarm. Outside, smaller drones faltered, losing coordination. The massive hive trembled, then began to collapse in on itself. Avari's voice came through the communicator, filled with awe. "You did it. The hive. It is falling. The swarm is losing control. You humans. You actually did it." Ethan looked at his team, exhausted but smiling. "We did what had to be done. That is enough." The Horizon crew returned to Lunaris Prime. Survivors watched in amazement as the ship descended. The destruction of the hive meant the immediate threat of the swarm was gone. Fires still burned in the city, but the people were alive, and hope had returned. The humans and Lunarians worked together to assess the damage and care for the wounded. The survivors spoke in quiet voices about the bravery of the humans. Avari told them stories of what she had seen, the courage, the determination, the refusal to give up. Ethan gathered the team. "This was only the first step. We have shown what humans can do when others are afraid. We saved lives. We gave hope, and that is worth more than anything else." Laura laughed softly. "And we got out alive. That is something too." Kevin smiled, looking at the repaired drones and equipment. "We fixed what needed fixing. Now, we move forward." Mia moved among the survivors, offering comfort and care. "We keep them alive. That is our duty, and we will continue to do it." Avari approached Ethan once more. "I have seen many races, Many empires. None have acted like you. You do not wait for orders. You do not calculate only for yourselves. You risk everything for others. You are different. Ethan shook his head. We are humans. We do what we must. That is all. The sun set on Lunaris Prime. The fires still burned. But the city had hope again. The swarm was broken for now. And the survivors could rebuild. The Horizon crew had changed everything. Not by force alone, but by courage, determination, and a willingness to act when no one else would. The galaxy had seen humans arrive. They had fought when others ran. They had protected strangers when empires ignored cries for help. And the story of their bravery would travel across the stars, showing that humanity was a force unlike any other, capable of inspiring hope and achieving what others thought impossible. The battle had been won, but the journey was not over. The humans and their Lunarian allies would continue to fight, to protect, and to rebuild. And through it all, they would show the galaxy the power of human courage. The Horizon rested quietly on the ground, but the crew was already preparing for what was next. They had answered the call. They had acted, and in doing so, they had begun to change the fate of an entire world.